certainly happy they picked up the pace for week 2 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK, because that first week was a little boring if you... Oh, hey! Hi, it's me, Wilma Fingerdoo, with the Fingerdoo review of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Episode 2. And all I have to say is, Jorge, drink me! Ooh, thank you. Look at this with a little umbrella and garnish. Is it payday? Oh, you just thought you'd treat me nice? It means it's payday. Let me have a... Ooh, it's peachy iced tea? Oh, it's made with peach whiskey? Peach whiskey. For those of you in Canada, Crown Royal does a fantastic peach-flavored whiskey. I'm just saying, it's delicious in iced tea, apparently. Oh yes, we'll be having many more of those. I'm just saying. Okay, so we started this episode off by saying goodbye to Gothy, God bless her. And Vinny spent no time ditching her mommy vibes by erasing her lipstick message from that mirror. Toot sweet. And you could tell a couple of the girls were feeling the cold slap in the face of reality TV because their feathers were good and ruffled. Speaking of ruffled feathers, I noticed that Cheryl seems to be getting on Viv's nerves. Although I have to say, no offense to Vivian, because I do like the Vivian, but she seems a little tightly wound, and if people don't color inside the lines, she might get stroppy with them. And I feel like that's coming where Cheryl's concerned. Mark my words. Episode 2, I said that the Viv will slap Cheryl. Just mark it down. Just say. But clearly Viv don't care, because she's got her Ru Peter badge and she's got plans to sell it on eBay. So she should, because no cash prize, Drag Race UK? Seriously. But before any of the other queens could get on Viv's tits, there was Ru with this week's micro mini challenge. Why gotta be micro? She had Vivian place the other queens in order of competition. Who was the most competition went at the top, and who was the least competition went at the bottom. And right away, Cheryl and STW got their tits in a knot. STW, rightly so, because, well, she almost won last week, or at least that's how she and I see it anyway. She had a very strong showing last week, and if that doesn't threaten Viv, well, I don't know what does. And of course, Cheryl was threatened because she's Cheryl. Somebody who wasn't threatened but shocked as hell was Vinegar Strokes, because that's who the Vivian picked as her most competition. Now, she said that it was because Vinny works in the West End and has a career performing. I think it was to kind of confuse the other girls and not put herself into their crosshairs. Do you know what I'm saying? One thing Viv doesn't need with that first Ru Peter badge is a target on her back. I'm just saying. The second queen that she picked was Baga, and rightly so. Baga's a solid performer. She also seems a very comfortable performer. She doesn't seem to be trying too hard or worrying too much, which can also make her less of a threat, because she might not be as focused on competing as some of the other girls. I'm just saying. Somebody else that the Vivian clearly didn't care much about was Scaredy Cat, because Scaredy Cat made it last. She was the lowest person on the totem pole as far as Viv was concerned. And here's where the twist of this challenge came into play. Vivian was the leader of one team, and Scaredy Cat, being at the other end of the spectrum, was the leader of the second team for the main challenge, which was an acting challenge, Downton Draggy. The queens had to separate into 2 groups and perform scenes from this spectacularly yet-to-be-produced show. Well, the Vivian made no time, or wasted no time. She basically picked most of the people that she put in the top, which meant she picked Baga and she picked Vinegar Strokes. She also picked STW, only because I think she was the lesser of 2 evils when it came down to that level of picking. So that left Scaredy Cat with DDC, whom she picked first, despite DDC's psychic efforts to make her not pick her. She didn't want to be on Scaredy Cat's team. She wanted to be on Viv's team, because clearly Viv was the more seasoned performers. Which, of course, left Crystal, Blue, and Cheryl to fill out Scaredy's team. So once the teams were picked, Viv's team seemed to get right down to work right away. They seemed to assign characters very easily. They started rehearsing and even got to a point where they could start throwing shade at the other team. And by throwing shade, basically predicting how badly Scaredy Cat would do as a team leader. Apparently, STW had some insight in that because she gets ready next to Scaredy, and she was saying something about Scaredy being very aware of what was being said about her and what people were doing, and she was taking notes. She seemed to feel that Scaredy was more on top of it than the rest of the girls were willing to admit. Just saying. Scaredy's team did a little reading of their own, mostly of how they thought Viv's team was made up of people that Viv thought had talent. So I think they were hoping to feel a little extra special when they won. Which they didn't. But before the girls could break out into an all-out rumble, there was Ru to check on their progress. He dropped in on Viv's team, aka Team Slag, first, and was very pleased to see that the girls seemed very confident and very ready to compete. Even with whatever accent that was STW was doing. Seriously. Team Scaredy Cat was a harder bit of road for sure. Ruth seemed to be worried about Crystal's accent, Scaredy's casting, and whether or not Blue Hydrangea had been spending most of her time on season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK flying under the radar. It's not something you want to hear from RuPaul, especially on week 2. Seriously. But before any of the queens could second guess themselves anymore, it was time to hit the set with director Michelle Visage. Up first was the Slags, and I have to say, out of the gate, they all seemed a little nervous. Viv dropped a few lines. Vinny seemed very cowed and low energy, but they both seemed to take direction well from Michelle Visage. STW didn't do too badly either, but I kind of feel that she went into this challenge expecting to be the worst in her group. So on some level, I feel like she didn't disappoint herself, just saying. But the standout of the Slags definitely was the slaggiest of them all, Bag of Chips. She was so funny. Everything she said was a hoot, and I have to admit, I didn't understand half of it. I'm so serious. The only thing I heard was her asking if she sounded like Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins. Third reference to Mary Poppins. I feel a theme for this season of Drag Race UK. I'm just saying. And I have to say, it was no surprise to me that when all of the glitter settled and all of the dust was swept up, that she ended up winning this challenge, much to DDC's chagrin. But I'm jumping ahead of myself, I'm so sorry. Speaking of DDC, her team didn't do that badly, but again, Cheryl seemed to not have any of her lines down, or at least seemed to be stumbling through most of them. Poor Crystal, for whatever reason, I thought she looked good. I thought that the 1 or 2 lines that she delivered were all right, but mostly forgettable in that whole thing. The one girl that I thought had the potential to stand out was Scaredy Cat, because I thought that it was great that she played a whiner through it, and even though I was having pheromone flashbacks through the whole thing, I didn't think she had done that badly until Michelle said, well, you're doing this all on one note, it's getting annoying. And it did very quickly. God bless her. Thank God DDC was on their team is all I'm saying, or else they would have been completely unwatchable, is how DDC felt about her team. And I have to tell you, she's not wrong. I have to say, if it weren't for DDC, I wouldn't have even remembered what Team Scaredy Cat did. I'm so serious. The next day in the workroom while the queens were getting ready for the runway, Viv was questioning the authenticity of Cheryl's personality, much as I was last week, I'd like to point out. Crystal assured Viv that that's just how Cheryl is all the time. Oh my. Scaredy discussed her sexuality, and I have to say, I loved how she explained herself. Even though she says she's not gay, maybe she's not bi, maybe she's not straight, she said that her sexuality is defined by her girlfriend because she loves her. I love that. I think that that's the best thing anyone could say about a partner that they've chosen to go through life with. So here's to you, Scaredy. Well done. Of course, Vinny was very, very impressed with not just Scaredy, but all the young people of today's ability to express their sexuality without as much fear of recourse. Here's to you, Vinny. I love you, girl. Even STW's story of not connecting with her family as a first-generation Brit from Chinese immigrant parents is not a new story. We've heard it before, and God bless all of these people. You know, once we realize that these stories are a lot more common and that they don't separate us as much as we think they do, I think that we'll come together more strongly as a community. At least that's what I'm hoping. Just saying. But before the girls could break out the Kleenex over all their sad tales, it was time to haul their cookies to the runway. And can I just say, I know that there's been some drama over Delta Work not working on RuPaul anymore, and I don't know if Drag Race UK has different people working on it. I can't see that it does, but even Ru's dresses, which they say are still being made by Zaldi, last week's green mini dress, this week's black gown, I mean, I loved it. I didn't like the asymmetry. I thought this was a little awkward up here, but she looked gorgeous, I'm just saying. So whoever's on that is doing a fantastic job, and thank you, because sometimes Ru's runway looks aren't the best, I'm just gonna say. Helping Ru judge this week, along with Michelle Visage, was the fabulous talk show host Graham Norton, and from Game of Thrones, Maisie Williams, looking delicious in pink, I'm just saying. So, the girls hit the runway in their Bond Girl Glamarama. First down the runway was the Vivian as Serena Shark, codename IBS. And all I need to say is, I want that fabric. Whatever fabric that whole jumpsuit hood thing was made out of, I want it. I want it now. If somebody knows where to buy it, get me 5 yards of it and send it to me. I'm good for it. I'll pay you right back. Oh my God, that was the most beautiful fabric. And that whole hood thing, that whole Grace Jones feeling was just fantastic. What a strong walk out of the runway for any of the girls, but particularly Viv, because this time she did it in heels, bless her. Next up was Sum Ting Wong as Mei Ting. And I just have to say, I love that she went down the runway bald. I thought it made for a very good Bond Girl villainous realness. And back rolls or not, I thought this was a good look for STW. I wasn't mad at it anyway. Third down the catwalk was Vinegar Strokes, aka Mrs. F-Tits. And I still don't know what that means. I tried to say it all sorts of ways. She even said her name was Fabulosa Tits or something. It's stupid, almost as stupid as her look. Not that her look was stupid, but it looked better with the sunglasses on. She looked like a villainess with the sunglasses on. But this is the thing that a lot of these British queens are going to come up against is if they're not doing a good job with their makeup and their wigs and stuff, they're going to get red, because if one thing has happened over 12 years of RuPaul's Drag Race is that the viewing audience is very, very spoiled now on what a queen should look like. We've had some great looks, we've had some hard looks, and they've all been red for whatever filth they were red for. And I feel badly for some of these British queens, particularly Vinegar Strokes, because I think she's a solid performer, but her look is not polished, and I feel, unfortunately, that it's going to be the thing that holds her back in this competition. I just hope that she pulls it together sooner than later. That's all I'm saying. Other than that, I love me some Vinny. Just saying. Stroke away, girl. Bagga going down that runway in the little sparkly suit with the bowler hat as Laser Manelli. I thought that was a hoot too. I don't know if it was my favorite look down the runway, because as I said, that Vivian, that was a gorgeous outfit. But you can't have the Vivian win twice, or all hell would break loose, I'm just saying. That said, I did like Bagga's performance especially, but that runway look was fun, bless her. Cheryl Hole hit the runway as Agent 00 Dipshit, and I'm glad she had a reveal, because other than that, it was a boring look for me. And even the reveal, you know, I'm expecting Cheryl to be the sex pod in the bathing suit. I'd like to see her not be that every time. Just saying. Crystal was next down the runway feeling her Janet Jackson kink, and I'm so glad that she not only whipped out a whip, but knew how to use it. I'm so serious. It was a good look for Cheryl. Strong week for her. Even though she kind of disappeared in the challenge. Scaredy was super adorable as Kitty Rouge with her bang me exclamation, I guess. And I'm with Maisie. I really thought her outfit was adorbs. Just saying. DDC looked gorgeous as Paracetamol. Blue Hydrangea was last down the runway as Triple Tatas, and the name did not disappoint because the reveal was Triple Tatas. Her 007s were hanging out. And I just have to say, I thought her look was great without that. But once she whipped them out, I was with Graham Norton. I didn't understand it. But who doesn't love three tits? My only problem was I didn't know where to look. So after the judges watched each team's episode of Downton Draggy, the queens went backstage to Untuck, where they seemed to attack Cheryl. Which was weird because Cheryl, coming off the runway, wanted to admit to STW that she threw her under the bus. But before she could even start to apologize directly to STW and the rest of the queens asked her why she was being so fake, more or less. They all had a feeling that she was giving them the touch of the Laganja Estranges, being fake for the cameras. And what was so touching was, in the interviews, that's exactly what Cheryl was doing. She even said, you know, she wanted to stand out. She wanted to be... And as the tears were flowing down her face, I have to say, I was feeling a bit bad for judging her too. I mean, there shouldn't be any crime in just wanting to be liked. I just think there should be a better rule book on how to get people to do it. Seriously. So when the queens returned to the runway, it was announced that the bottom two were Scaredy Cat and Blue Hydrangea, much to Cheryl Hole's relief. I'm so serious. And I just have to say, this was another predictable lip sync, as was last week's. I mean, even though Blue Hydrangea is closer in age to Scaredy Cat than the other girls, she's still a more seasoned performer. I mean, Scaredy even said more than a couple of times that she's never performed. She's never even seen a drag show before. So this is a new milieu for Miss Cat. Now, I do have to say, I said it before and I'll say it again, I was very impressed with just how strongly she related to the character of her drag. She never came out of that character, which made every move she made during the lip sync make sense. It was something that character would do. She seemed very comfortable in what she was doing, very animated. But Blue Hydrangea outshone her because, well, she's used to performing a bit more. There was a little more there to watch where Blue Hydrangea was concerned. And by that I mean an extra tit, I'm just saying. So when the glitter settled, it was Scaredy who sashayed and Blue who shantaed for another day. What do you think? That was it. That was episode 2. I thought it was much better than episode 1. A little more drama, a little more involved. I'm glad that Scaredy and Gothy are gone. Just as the youngest queens, they both also, as I said, lack of experience performing. So for whatever reason they were brought into Drag Race, now that they're gone, I think the rest of the queens can focus on what they do best, which is perform and not have to worry about carrying along a more demure teammate. That's the nicest way I can say someone who sucks. I'm just saying. So, what do you think? Do you think Scaredy should have gone home? Do you think Blue had had enough? What about Vinny? She seems to be circling that drain on some level, and Cheryl is beating herself up all sorts of ways past Sunday. So, it's just anybody's guess as to who's going to do well and who's not. So we'll have to tune in next week and find out. Until then, don't you forget to like my channel. Don't you forget to subscribe. And if you want to support me, I accept one-time tips through my PayPal account. And you can join me on Patreon for my weekly watcha, where you can ask me any question you want and I'll answer it in a weekly video. All the links are down below for all that information. And until next week, miss me. Seriously, Jorge, I'm loving it.